All right, hi everyone. So welcome, my name's Darren. I'm from Instructional Technology. I am the LMS specialist for the school district. And today we are going to be looking at how Brightspace tools like Creator Plus and quizzes can help you create some authentic online test prep experiences for your students. We thought this was a good session to offer now. We are in the heart, or getting into the heart of what we call testing season here in the district, and I know it's a long haul for some of us, but hopefully these tools and tips can give you some ideas of how you can use your courses to offer those experiences for your students. So if you're just joining us, there is a link in the chat that will get you to the Discover tool and allow you to self-enroll in a course that we're calling Brightspace PD, and that is where you will have access to a unit for this session and all of the resources that we're going to offer today. You're seeing that on the screen right now. I'm actually showing one of the topics from that unit in our course, and that'll we're going to get started there so we can go over kind of what we're going to cover today. So once you're enrolled, we are actually going to look over the Maryland Digital Learning Standards that are applicable to this session. And then also, I'm going to have you explore some sample items in the content. Our learning activities today, we are going to be covering Brightspace quizzes. We're going to be looking at how you can use Creator Plus elements and practices to create those authentic test prep experiences. We're also going to be covering at the end a new tool called the Quiz Question Converter, and going over how you can use that to very easily create a bunch of test questions all at once, and even copy and paste some of those items that you've been maybe using in Google Forms or other in a doc or in a Word doc, and move those directly into your Brightspace question library, and then you can use them in any of your courses. And then we'll have time, I'm hoping, for a little bit of practice time and some Q&A at the end. Within the course that you are self-enrolling in, you will have access to each of these drop-downs. I'm using an accordion element here to organize these. And there are links to our tutorial documents for the question library, question quiz types, and creating quizzes. We're also going to get into just a little bit of, should I use quizzes? Should I use Creator Plus? And some of the pros and cons of that. So quizzes, if you're using quizzes, number one, you can collect the data from it and grade it. One of the cons, it's not as versatile. Getting into the Creator Plus elements and practices, again, you have links to the elements and practices. Elements are dynamic components used to share content with a user-friendly authoring experience. So it allows you to just drag and drop, click, and create really dynamic content for your students with no HTML coding required. And then practices are formative and interactive learning activities or assessments for your students. So using this tool, the elements and practices within the content of your course, very versatile, and it gives students immediate feedback. One of the cons, we don't collect data on that yet. That is coming. Like I said, we'll get into the quiz question converter. You can get some direction on how to use that in our course, and then we'll have practice time and Q&A, and then this is just a link to our teacher intro site. If you want to take a look, the digital learning standards that we're covering today are in the click and reveal element down at the bottom of that first page, so you can review those on your own. Any questions before we go ahead and get started? Right, excellent. So now you know what we're going to kind of cover today. We're going to actually jump right into you just exploring. So in the course that you enrolled in the content, you will see a lesson or a folder called Sample Assessment Items. There are 5 HTML documents in that folder that give you different levels of test prep. And what we did is we used MCAP, the MCAP practice site. We took questions directly from the MCAT practice site and turn them into Brightspace content so that you could see how you could take the content that you're teaching and teach them turn them into items that your students can interact with, just like we did here. And they're authentic, it's a type of question style that they will see when taking their assessments this testing season. So we have a grade 3, a grade 7, we have geometry, we have a grade 5 MISA, and a grade 8 social studies sample. After you have gone through and reviewed some of these, pick and choose which ones you want to review and take a look at, take the assessment, look over the content and the elements. At the end, you will see a sample quiz. I'd like you to take that sample quiz as a student. There'll be 2 questions, one written response where you're going to record some things that you noticed about the content and some things that you may be wondering about the content examples that you reviewed. The quiz you're taking is actually another example of a authentic assessment item that you could offer to your students. The first one is the notice and wonder written response. And the second one is actually just a math question where we use the equation editor. So Brightspace does have an equation editor built in to the quiz creation experience. So like I was saying, just to recap, your 5 HTML docs using elements and practices, and then a quiz using the quiz tool. So we're going to take about 10 minutes for you all to get started exploring, take a look. You can open up that quiz in a new window, and you can record those notices and wonderings as you go along, or all at the end, completely up to you. Turn that quiz in, and then we're going to take a look at that together when you're finished. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. Let me know if you have questions as you're exploring, and enjoy. Sorry, if you are just joining us, if you want to go to the Discover tool or the chat and here in our session, you can click on a link to discover the course that we're using today. It's called Brightspace PD. And in that course, you will see a unit for Spring eCoach Day. And we are just going through the sample assessment items and then taking the quiz at the end. So there's 5 sample assessment items and a quiz with sample assessment items in it that you can take as a student. Right, we're about halfway through our exploration of the sample assessment items. Please let me know if you have any questions as you're exploring, and don't forget to take that quiz at the end.
This math question is hard in there, or am I missing it?
Just take a shot.
Okay. Jeez.
It's really just a sample. I'm not actually testing you. I honestly don't even know what the answer, I can't remember what the answer is myself. Hey there. So if you, in the chat, you should see a link to go to Discover, and you can self-enroll in our course. It's called Brightspace PD, and then you will head to the content for that course and select our Spring eCoach Day unit, and we are in the sample assessment items area underneath authentic online test prep using Brightspace. We got about 3 minutes left, everyone. We'll take that full 3 minutes just to give everyone a chance to explore. There's some of these items do have quite a bit to them.
I have a question for you. Sorry, good morning. Sorry, good afternoon. On the MISA one, for the question 3, unless I'm reading it wrong, it had said that you have a option like select all that apply, but the question ends up saying select 2. When I selected 2, it said the answer is wrong, and it showed like all of them were correct. So how do we preempt those kind of issues, like where the question is saying select 2, but then when you hit check answers?
I understand. So actually this select all that apply is default language from the tool itself, I believe. So when you're setting it up, I don't know if there's a way to change that. that's something that we can explore. Let's take a look at that.
Okay. Unless I'm seeing it wrong, because it had like all these check marks on them. Like, okay.
Yeah, I think the directions that we put in were select 2. We'll take a look at that real quick. I have about a minute left in our timer. I think that, here we go. Multi-select. So yeah, so you can see that when we built this question for this session, we put in the select 2. But since it is a multi-select item, you can see here the select all that apply gets put in automatically. That's something I can actually look into but I think we want to leave that because multi-select, you want to select all that apply, and then you have the directions here. So this is something you also have to make your students aware of.
Thank you.
Yep, good question. All right, I think our timer is about done. All right, make those last minute observations, those notice and wonders. Take a crack at that math question. I really just put that there as a sample of being able to use the equation editor, and I'll show you how to do that within Brightspace. So even if just take a crack at the answer, not a big deal. We're not going to take a look at that, how you did on that. Right. Sorry for the computer. It's a little slow when I'm presenting. All right, I think our time is up. So we're going to go ahead and move on with our agenda. So the next part of this of our session, we are going to take a look at the quiz tool. Since we all just took a quiz, we're going to pop right into that quiz tool and explore the 2 items that were there, and then how to build those yourself and what types of items they are. So first, let's go ahead and jump into, I went right into the quiz as the teacher. And what I did is since I linked this right in content, I can select this and go to quiz. And just a heads up, pretty soon we won't have to do that. We won't have that extra click of go to quiz. The quiz will just be there with all the results. It's a nice update coming to Brightspace next month. So we're excited about that, or the end of this month, early next month. And actually, I'm just going to go right back to manage my quizzes. And you can see all my quizzes will be listed in my quiz tool. And from here, I can use the drop down and I can go ahead and grade that quiz. This will give me a view of everyone that has attempted the quiz. And I can, Alex, I'm going to pick on you since you're first. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this. So I did set a time limit to this quiz, and I'll show you how to do that. But it didn't, and when you set that time limit, and that can really be good practice because there will be time limits when your students take those standardized tests. So they will have that clock ticking down, and you as a teacher can choose what will happen when that time limit is reached. Will it just be turned in automatically, or will it just get flagged for you so you as the teacher know this student or this group of students went over their time a little bit, have a quick discussion with them about managing their time. When you can go ahead and click on the first attempt. I only allowed 1 attempt for this quiz, and then you get that nice grading window with that first attempt. But you can see up here in the right-hand corner, I can toggle through all 8 of the responses that came in for this quiz. I can also, for each student, toggle between their attempts if I allowed more than 1 attempt. And I can also choose which question I want, if I want all questions or just ones that are pending evaluation. The multiple choice one, I don't really have to look at. The computer scored that for me. So the only one that I do really need to look at and evaluate is the written response. So let's go through some of these written responses. And if anybody wants to just unmute, chime in, feel free to do that as well. So some of the things hopefully you noticed when you completed this assessment that the I noticed and I wonder were already there for you. And you can do that for your students. You can set up and give them those prompts, those sentence starters. You could do the part A, part B for them and have that all there ready to go for your students. The versatility, simplify the format for the students. And simplifying the format, yes, you can really do anything you want. It's super versatile, so you kind of address that in your notice. you adjust that wonder in your notice. Yeah, it's really set up, and you can customize it in any way that you want. Next we have that there would be add a lot of text information is needed, however parts were broken up. Yep, that chunking piece, a drag and drop feature to display the whole thing at once. That is one thing, yeah, that I am not super happy about with the drag and drop. Sometimes if you have more than 2 categories, you don't see it all at once. You can bump it out though, full screen. Let's look at one more. This is a nice way to just kind of get feedback from your students. I could have done this in a discussion, but I chose to do this in a quiz. So you can get an idea of what the quiz could look like. Various ways to ask questions. I wonder, although it seems to take a difficult teacher to try it. Yeah, that's always the wonder. How are you going to get them to try it? I don't know if anybody has an idea on that. Getting folks, if you've had any success, like how do you get them to give this a try? You can use it year after year. It's going to be there. You can share it. It is authentic. It's within the course, so you can give them all of the content and the assessment piece all in one place. They don't have to go from platform to platform, link to link, tab to tab. It's all in one place for them. So I think that might be one way to convince them. So we're going to go back and revisit some of those sample items and just kind of talk about what went into creating them. But first, since we're in the quiz tool, let's talk about the quiz that you took and what went into creating that. So I'm going to head back to manage my quizzes here. And when I create quiz items, I always do it in the question library. So right now I'm in the quiz tool. You can get to that through course tools or course admin. But I always create in the question library. I do that for one huge reason, is that if I do it in the question library, I can use that in any quiz inside my course. If I change the question in question library, it changes everywhere that it's deployed in a quiz throughout my course. So that is a nice feature. So if I did use it in more than one place, I can make that change one time. So in question library, you'll notice once the screen loads that one thing that you can create is sections. So you can organize your quizzes into different sections or folders. So right now I have an eCoach Day and I have a demo folder. I'm going to create inside my demo folder. So I'm actually going to go into my demo folder first before I start creating. Once you get into your demo, you'll see the same 2 buttons that you saw in the first dashboard. When you get into question library, you'll see import and new. Import we're going to talk about later. New we're going to talk about now. So when I select new, I can create a new section. I can create a section within a section. So that's how your brain works. That's how mine does. I have folders within folders within folders. Or you can choose the question type. All of our question types are explained in our documentation. You saw that in the drop downs and the accordion earlier in the session. We're going to jump right into a written response question. This is probably one of my favorites just because of the little bit of versatility that it offers. So you put in your question text. You can choose to enable or not enable an HTML editor for your learners. So that means that they have the same editor that you have when creating the question. So they can insert images. They can insert an audio recording. They can insert a video recording. So they have all of those options at their fingertips when they're responding. So that's a nice feature to allow your learners. You can also allow them to insert images or add attachments. So totally up to you, whatever you might be asking for, if you want to choose to enable or allow those or not. When you're looking at your options, so right here, since I've used that initial text before, it's actually checked off. So initial text, that's what you saw where it said, I wonder and I notice, or I notice and I wonder. I put those in there for you. That's the initial text that I give to my students. It could be a sentence starter. It could be that you want to give them that we're going to have where to answer part A and where to start answering part B. And in your question text, there we go. You can see I have that full editor. Insert stuff. I can have all of my different attributes. There's my equation editor, so I could have I could add an equation to this as well. So this could be a part A and a part B question. and I would put in the text for my question there. And then my students, using that initial text piece, would know exactly how to answer it. Another nice feature that you have is that you can choose the default response box size. So that in a written response, that gives your students an indication of, how much do I need to write? Do I need to write a little bit? Do I need to write a lot? You can let them know by just the size of the box that they see when they click on and start taking this assessment item. You can give the default point value here. This will be applied when you add it to a quiz. The point value will be applied to the quiz as well. Just like most other quiz items, you can add feedback, you can add hints, and you can add an answer key for yourself as well. So when you're assessing, you have that answer key at your fingertips. So all of those options are also available. So when you are ready, you have that save button, but you also have that drop down next to the save button. So you can save and create a new item, or you can make a copy of this one. So if you're going to do 2 written responses, pretty much everything's there. You just have to change a little bit of the text. So it saves you a little bit of time when you're creating multiple items. I'm going to do save and new. So I've done my written response. Now I'm going to do save and new, and we're going to get into another type of item. So as you can see, this first drop down at the top is not grayed out for me. So that means I can choose the type of question that I'm going to be creating. This one, let's do a multi-select. We see a lot of multi-select when we're doing those standardized test items. Here we're going to get into how the equation editor can come into play. The equation editor is available in your editing tools. It is under Insert Stuff. It is not, my bad. It's in the plus sign, excuse me. Like everything's in Insert Stuff except for this. Anyway, so the plus sign will give us that equation editor. I'm going to do just the very first one, the graphical equation here. This will probably look familiar. It's a similar looking equation editor to other tools that we've used in the past, or even different assessment platforms have this as well. I'm just going to do a simple fraction. So we're just going to do 3/4 plus, throw in another one, 1/2. And I'm going to insert. So very quickly and easily, I can put in the item for my students. There we go. Put on another line. I can give them other directions. I would then put in, I know this is not a multi-select, well, actually it could be. There could be different answers to this, but I would put in my answer choices. And select the 1, 2 that would be the correct answer to this. I can, in my directions, let them know how many to select. I could say select all that apply. I know you'll see it different ways when you're getting into the standardized assessment. I can randomize the assessment order. I could add a numeration, so I could do ABC, 1, 2, 3. And then you can also decide, do they need to get both answers, or are they graded by correct selections, correct answers, right minus the wrong? I typically do all or nothing because that's how I've always seen it on different assessment items. And maybe since there are 2 correct answers, we'll make it a 2-point question.
And Darren, can I add something really quick?
Yes,
so
please.
Darren mentioned the equation editor. One thing that's really important, a reason why to use the equation editor, I know with fractions you could do 3/4, but thinking about your students that are using text-to-speech, with the equation editor, it will read the mathematical language, whereas if you're just doing 3/4, it will read 3/4. So it is important to have that mathematical language in there for students using those reading tools. And then also Darren mentioned the written response. By checking off that option to have the Brightspace editor there, students can also use the equation editor, which is really important practice because they are expected to use a form of an equation editor on some of those standardized tests.
Thank you. Those are both really good points that I forgot to mention, so I appreciate that. So really wrapping up, you have those options to feedback, hints, so you have all those options as well. So that was a really quick rundown of creating those 2 assessment items that students will see when they're taking those standardized tests. So any questions before we move on? Comments? Other notices, wonders that we didn't get to before? Excellent. So we're going to move back into content now and just go over some of the items that you did review and talk about what went into making those, the different practices and the different elements that we use. And really, practices and elements, they're the most versatile tool within Brightspace. They allow you to do really anything and everything that you could want to do with your content, and really allow you to present directly from your course each and every day, just like I am now. So let's look at this first one here. This was quite a bit went into this. So at first, there's really just a note for you as the content creator who might be creating something like this. It really just gets into what different parts were used. So we used the accordion element, drop down, fill in the blank, and a multi-select practice. Again, you don't get the data like you would with a quiz, but it does give them that immediate feedback and allows them to try over and over again until they get it correct. And then I did just, I threw in an embedded video. I know I didn't see as many of those in the practice, but I know they can exist where students would have to watch a video and answer questions on that video. So you can do that through approved YouTube, embedding approved YouTube videos, or if you have something on your device, you can put it into the media library and upload it from your media library within Brightspace. So we have directions on that as well. And if we have time, I want to get into that a little bit later. Here you can just see a screenshot of this was the sample item that we used. So this came directly from the MCAP grade 3 MCAP practice. So it was a drop down and a multi-select. So let's get into kind of what we did. I used just a single accordion to put all of the text that the students would have to read. I tried to make it look as close to the original as possible. That did take a little bit of manipulation. I did a copy and paste, but then I had to come back and I did bold the paragraph indicators, the numbers at the beginning, and then I did bold the different picture captions like they were in the original. So the students can read this, but what's nice is when they're done reading it, they can minimize it so it doesn't take up as much screen space, or they can leave it open and scroll back and forth. Alex, go ahead.
So we do a lot of stuff on performance matters. And so what would be the advantage to this, and also like our departments and content offices looking at this too?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, we're really marketing this more as authentic, just test prep. So it's not, they're not taking an actual assessment in performance matters. So I know that goes into the, the data that's attached to that student if it's in performance matters. This would just be, just getting ready for that assessment. And it's built into your daily instruction. There's no leaving Brightspace. You're just building it right in the content tool. So once they read that item, we threw in a couple of practices. We have that drop down, fill in the blank piece, and then the multi-select piece. And, as you can, oh, not quite. So, but it does give me what I should have done, and then I can try again. Let's look at a couple others real quick. I know we were talking about I believe it's the MISA one. Yes, I like this one. I think it looks a lot like it does on the assessment. Again, you have the notes for you as the content creator, but it does have that tabs element, so the students can move around between the tabs. Within each tab, there's an image, but you could put videos in each of those tabs along with the text that the students would need to read and review in order to answer the multiple choice questions that come after and the multi-select questions that come after that. So let's go ahead and quickly get into kind of how would you create one of these? So I'm going to go ahead and click on my folder here, and I'm going to create new. These are all in an HTML document. HTML is just a blank doc that you can create within. I'm sure a lot of you have used these within your courses before or seen these before, so I'm not going to get into it too much, but if you have specific questions, let me know. Everything is found, not in insert stuff, but in that plus sign. So when you want to insert an element or a practice into your HTML doc, it's using the plus, and you have access to elements, you have access to practices, and then the layout, so you can lay things out in different ways. Let's start with an element. So you have the options. You saw I used accordion, we used tabs, we used the click and reveal. There was, I know there was the stylized quote, so reading the quote, responding to the question. Hotspot is another great one where if you have an image, you can have up to 9 spots on that image and then once the student clicks on it, they have information about that spot of the image. It's accessible, and you can add really anything to the information panel that pops up when you click on the image. The image carousel is great for kind of like a slideshow. Students can look at images with information and then toggle through. So you have lots of options for engaging your students in the content that you want to share with them before they take that assessment item. So let's talk about that. What different assessment items do you have? Really anything that you have in quizzes, most things that you have in quizzes, you have a practice for or an assessment item for. One that you don't have in quizzes is the drop-down fill in the blank. That's something that is on standardized testing, and it is a nice tool to have and to get your students ready where they can choose from a list of options and fill in blanks in a sentence or a paragraph. The others are pretty self-explanatory. The sorting one, I know it's a little funky on the smaller screen. Not everything always fits, but they can bump it out like I'm doing now in my present mode and see everything all on one screen. So students do have that ability to hit those 4 arrows and bump it out into a larger screen and get rid of that side menu panel. Are there any questions, specific questions about creating these? We don't have time to get into how to create each one of these, but we do have detailed directions on how to do that. Any questions or comments on any of that? So as you're thinking, as we're going through other things and you're thinking about it, please let me know if you do. All right, so we're going to get into another piece where I want to look at the new quiz question converter. So this is a newer tool that we discovered recently that allows you to essentially type in questions into a document, upload that into the converter, and it will spit out a CSV spreadsheet that you can then upload into your question library. It's a super cool tool, and I want to show it off a little bit today. So in our course, as long as you took the quiz, you'll have access to the quiz question converter. There is a release condition on that. So the quiz question converter, I have directions for you on how to get to it in this tabs element. So this is a sample quiz item that I actually have a Google form that has these items in it, but I want to show you how you can take those items and put them into this into a document and then upload it into the quiz question converter. So let me open that real quick. So we do have directions on how to use the quiz question converter, and that'll take you into the kind of the organizational level of Brightspace if you click on the link, and you'll have access to the converter. And really all you need to do, and we have directions on how to format everything, so you don't have to worry about that, but it is really easy to take certain types of questions and turn them into items that you can have in your question library within your Brightspace course. And you can then easily upload those into multiple courses if you keep your courses separated, which is a nice feature as well. Just bringing over a document here. So I have a few questions already written into a Google Doc. So you'll notice a little bit of the formatting, but some of the, very simple. If you're using a multiple choice, which of the following is a planet, you put down your choices, you put a star. Let me zoom in just a little bit, sorry about that. You put a star next to the correct answer. You can even add hints and feedback if you wanted to. You don't have to, but that's an option that you have when you're writing up the questions. Again, we have directions on how to format these, but they're very simple and easy to do. True, false, super simple. You write the question, write the statement, write true or false underneath it on a new line. And everything just goes onto a new line. Once you've reviewed the questions, written them up the way that you want them, following the directions, you would then copy these questions. Come on now. There we go. So Control C. You'd open up that quiz question converter. I didn't mention this, but the quiz question converter is available if you have the AACPS teacher tools, or if you're on your home page, your school landing page, just go to the My Brightspace area in the nav bar and click on quiz question converter. I've already copied the questions and the format, and you can actually, if you're in the quiz question converter, there are resources for you on how to format your questions here as well. So you can see I've typed everything in. I will come down. I'm going to leave the default point values as 1, and I'm going to convert. I don't know if you saw, but it converted it into, it converted into a CSV and downloaded it. So now I have my CSV right here, the quiz3.csv. So now I'm ready to upload those questions into my question library. So I'm going to head back to my course. I'm going to head into my course tools and my quizzes tool. So just note, you can put this directly into a quiz. So you can upload this directly into the quiz tool. It'll turn it into a quiz that you can use right away. I recommend putting it into the question library, into a section within your question library. So then you can use that in multiple quizzes if you needed to, or you can change the copy and change them as needed. But this kind of eliminates some of the steps that go into creating questions one by one by one. It's really just an easy type it in, few indicators within the document, and then upload it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these into this section here, eCoach Day 2024. And I am going to use the import button. Instead of using new and creating questions one at a time, I'm going to import 5 questions all at once. So import, upload a file. I'm going to either browse for that file, or I'm going to just drag and drop that file right there. So it's reading it. I did not do something correctly. Let me go back here. Oh, you know what happened? So something to notice, there are not spaces. I forgot to put spaces between my questions. Do that real quick fix. There we go. All right, hit that convert button again. Oh, of course.
Darren, I think you missed one between what's your favorite food and order the following planets.
Yes, thank you. Oh, what have I done wrong here? Let's try this again. This is authentic. This will probably, it's always something. should be able to, there we go. There we go. That should do it. We'll get rid of that one. I don't know what's going on with that. There we go. Sorry, guys. Thank you for being patient with me. Now we will upload the file. I think this is still quicker and easier than creating each one at a time. So let's throw that in there. There we go. Found all 6 questions. Now I can import them. It'll bring them into the section that I identified that I was working in. So there we go. There are my questions. It's always a good idea to just check them, make sure they're correct. You can add other features to that if you needed to or wanted to, but I have a multiple choice question, a multi-select question. I can take a look at them and they came in really nicely. So I think this is a nice feature. I think it's something to share with your staff, but you can see, yep, did it correctly. There's the correct answer. And that came in from that CSV file that I created. Once you have them in your question library, you can say, yeah, you're done, and then start bringing those into a quiz.
Can you show the original quiz document again? It was just
Sure.
a Google Doc, right?
Yeah, just a Google Doc. So multiple choice. Which of the following is a planet? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I put a star next to the correct answer. That came in. Multi-select.
Okay.
It's just putting a star next to all the correct answers. So it knows if it's a multiple choice or a multi-select based on how many stars essentially you put next to the correct answers. If you write the word order, it's going to do an ordering question. If you put the word match in front, it's going to do a matching question. So really those are the type, and true false. Those are kind of the 5 main questions you can do, or a written response. You're muted, Alex.
Sorry, so you have to prompt it before you put it in the converter, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I think typing order the following things, putting those 5 things, that's a lot faster than going in, selecting new, selecting ordering, selecting, typing in each one of those items. It's all done right here. So it's pretty quick and easy. And if you've done something like this in a Google Doc or just on paper pencil, and you have a digital file, or digital copy of it saved, just copying and pasting it into the quiz converter. Or you could type it right into the quiz converter as well. It doesn't have to be in a Word doc first. You can type it right here.
And Alex, the ones like multiple choice, multi-select, and true false, those pick up automatically depending on, like Darren said, whether you have the stars. So for those ones, he didn't have to have anything prior to the question. It just picked up that he had multiple answers, one indicated or more, or true or false.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool. So then, yeah, you just create a new quiz. And since I put those in my question library, they are ready for me to select and bring into a quiz. So that it really could cut your creation quiz time in half, or even by even more. I would just say add existing and then browse the question library. Since I uploaded those into my question library, they're right there ready for me to use. So any questions? We are about out of time. I did not save time for practice. I'm very sorry. Morgan did put the attendance and evaluation in the chat, so please make sure you do that. I don't want you to miss out. One more thing to share. This is important, so don't leave yet, please. But let me get back to our content. We do have upcoming professional development for Brightspace champions and e-coaches. It's just a quick half-hour session. We're going to be going over the quiz converter tool for anyone that maybe missed it, or if you want to go over it again with us, we're going to go over that so you can share that with your staff. But we're also going to be going over the brand new Brightspace content experience that's coming. We've been given word that it's coming end of this month. We'll probably turn it on April 4th is what we're thinking, but maybe earlier, depending, making sure we got to make sure it works correctly. But it will put all content in line. So if you put a quiz in content, students won't have to click on the quiz, click on go to quiz, go to the quiz tool and take the quiz. The quiz will be right there within the content tool. And then once they start answering the questions of the quiz, all of the assessment and evaluation pieces will be right there in content for you as well as the instructor. So fewer clicks. I'm hoping it'll be really great for everyone involved. So March 21st, April 4th, there's the link. Just show up. You can pay yourself a half an hour for coming. Please spread the word to other champions, e-coaches, if you can, please. And then, in addition, if you then take this information back and give it to your staff, you can pay yourself for that as well. So I appreciate you all being here today. Reach out with any questions. Morgan and I are here to assist as always. Morgan, thank you for everything, getting this